Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandy Glaze. I'm a personal transformation and self-development coach, and it is a great honor today to have Father David Todor back with us to talk about what is happening in our region. We know a lot is going on with these 15-minute cities, and each one is tasked with its own mandate, but what we were hoping to do is just shed a little more light as to what the scope of the problem is. So how are you, David?
Sandy, I'm really good. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. It's really nice to
Great.
see you again.
Likewise, yeah, it's always great chatting with you.
Yes. And I watch a lot of your videos on your YouTube, and
Hmm.
I'm just gonna say I'm very impressed with how open you are to grow, and you have grown so much. It's like every time you do another interview or another video, it's just you give so much more information out, and thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be in this position that I do have some flexibility to keep up with the Ministry of Education, with the Waterloo District School Board, just overall what's happening with our education over here in Canada. And the I want parents to know exactly what's happening in these schools and exactly what these kids are being taught. And also, I just wanted to thank you because you gave a recent delegation in December at the Waterloo District School Board. And obviously, you're very passionate about this as well. And we share a lot of common views when it comes to what they're teaching the kids and what they're doing.
And it is absolutely horrible what they're doing, right, with the children. And I think it's the arrogance and the smugness that they are assuming it's their right to be doing this. But it was interesting because I said nowhere in Ontario can you find information on a public website about what constitutes child sex abuse, but it didn't go
You,
anywhere. But you know what's really funny? So that Monday night was the delegation. On Friday, I was notified by LinkedIn of all the searches I showed up in. Executive director of the Waterloo Regional District School Board checked me out. Wilfrid Laurier, a research student, checked me out, and two universities in California checked me out. That's all that checked me out. So they're sitting here watching everything we do. So like this is funny, right? To a certain extent, it's funny, but it's really interesting. I wasn't planning on saying this just yet, but there was also an open house for alternative education last week or 2 weeks ago. And I had some information out on tables. This one here is a source guide for parents concerned with pedophilic agenda being pushed onto children through public education. It is available on my website under the resources tab. So I have these sitting out, and I was talking to different people, and a woman walks up to me and she goes, that man over there in the mask, he took something off your table. So I looked down and it was one of these that were missing. So I walk over across the room and I said, excuse me, you took something off my table. You stealing my material. And he goes, oh, I thought it was free. Guess who it was? Justin, the guy who did the delegation when you were on October 20th, is telling everybody that he has the rights to people's children. He's the one who took my source guide. So
Mhm.
parts in here are the grooming that you talked about. I outline abuse and oath to do no harm, all kinds of things. So he was about a third of the way through it. And I said, you little turd. I said, you know what this means? You're going to get your asses sued. He
Well,
turns kind of
Sandy,
like his eyes kind of get big. He's got a mask on. So then about 10 minutes later, he walks up to my table and he goes, what's free here? Like he owns the place. And I said, nothing. And then he goes, he takes my book and turns it over. He goes, can I take a picture? Well, it's on Amazon. He can do that. But just the smugness. But when I told him he's getting sued,
Sandy,
so
maybe you should be really happy because maybe he's looking to learn something a little bit different than all the stuff that he's being taught. And I'll tell you something about the guy. I had a really quick interaction with him as well. Um, Obviously, this guy seems to be pretty interested in what's happening with the kids. And I don't know if he has kids or not, but I can tell you, uh, I would love to see more people like him on our side who are really passionate, who will go to these events. I'm just thinking maybe somebody like him, on our side, somebody has an event, right? And somebody goes to the events and checks out the stuff that they do. So Justin and I, um, obviously we disagree, and whatever you have to say, we all disagree. But one thing I can appreciate about him is that he'll come out to an event where he's probably the only one there with a different opinion, and he'll go and check out the stuff. That part I disagree with. And maybe he's looking to learn some more stuff. Obviously, we have a lot of information on our side as parents. And one of the things is I don't want to discourage anybody that's on the other side. If you are interested in learning, like Sandy, you got a lot of great stuff. And I just wanted to touch base to all the viewers and listeners who are listening about what you were saying about pedophilic behavior. Um, I was thinking about this, and a lot of the things that the school boards are doing falls in line with that behavior. And the reason why I say this is because schools are focusing on what children prefer sexually, and they're focusing on having discussions about their preferences, about how they identify, what they like. They're trying to teach children about different techniques and all of that stuff. And they're trying to wedge a divide between parents and students so that parents aren't aware.
Parents and
And I,
children.
yeah, and I do believe, when I think of pedophilic behavior, it's isolating the child from somebody who can protect them and then exploiting them, right? And that could be whether it's conversations, drawings, books, acts, could be medical exploitation, as we see they're putting the kids on a path, sterilization, starting transitioning at school, getting different organizations involved, and really fetishizing a lot of these things, right? And the school board doesn't know the difference between boys and girls anymore, right? Obviously, they can't
Yes,
be
they do.
trusted.
So can we put some thoughts into that? They're all getting paid. And because they're getting paid extra money, and this is where the unions, we were talking about the unions, there's a page and a half of unions and organizations that were on that call to undermine the parents. So the one person on that meeting, the Zoom call, was that she ran the Union of School Board Trustees. So they're doing this from the top all the way through the unions. But the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, they had 6 people on this call to undermine the parents. The Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation had 5 people on that call who had associations with that group. So we have to understand that it's intentional. And this is one of the mistakes I think we've all made, including me at times. We give them the benefit of the doubt that they're stupid. They're not stupid, they're evil. And when I was there the last time, December 18th, the head of it, the man with the girly bun, I can't remember his name, but he actually said, well, we know that the schools are going to be the center of the communities going forward. So they're all in on the plan. The only people who aren't in on the plan are the parents, the taxpayers. So when we look at these unions, I went on their social media. The top one is the Ontario Federation of Labor. So what they're planning on doing is they want $10 daycare, and they're pushing through, and they advertise they have over 1 million members. So they're pushing Doug Ford to get $10 daycare because they have every intention of taking over the raising of the children. So people have to see how these unions are working. The other thing that they're working on is the tenants who are getting kicked out because they can't pay their rents or whatever. They want really affordable housing. Well, affordable housing is what they're going to be bringing those small units into the communities, which is your 15-minute city. So these unions are all doing the dirty work for the 15-minute cities to bring them into fruition. What was the third one they were working on? Oh, they were upset. So the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is in on this call as well. And I'm thinking, why would they be in on the call? Well, it turns out that they've got all the contracts with the schools, the hospitals, and government institutions. So they know that they're going to be raising the children is what the goal is going to be. That's how they're expanding the system. So there's so many people with a vested financial interest. And I looked at one of I can't remember if it was the Ontario Federation of Labor. There's one woman on there. She's part of the unions, and she actually makes a statement. Are you tired of not being rich yet? But so the 1% aren't going to give them their money. They're going to be taking the money from the people. So I think we have to really look at just the extent of this. University of Toronto, I think, had 22 people connections on this call. And then what was the other one? University of Western Ontario, which is Pedo Alley. They had 14 people on this call. Why are they so obsessed with sex? And I agree with what you're saying about what they're planning on doing with the children. So one of the retail outlets that I frequent, I was talking to one of the moms, and she's told me before her 5-year-old was being bullied at school, and the teachers just laughed at her. And when she got mad, they threatened to kick her out of the school. So the last time I saw her, she said she was giving her 5-year-old a bath. And she said he started playing with himself. And she goes, I told him, don't do that. You know what he said to her? It's my body, Mom. This is the kind of stuff they're being taught even at 5 years old, which is all illegal. But there was a great opportunity for her to say, where did you learn that? Who told you that? And start being the inquisitive parent and start using it as a way to get more knowledge and understand exactly who's saying what to their children. And I'm not kidding. I wasn't really planning on saying that part of it about getting sued. But you guys have to figure out what is going on with the teachers. Why did in the United States they have something called a surety bond, which basically you can sue that insurance company if the teachers do harm. Why don't we have that in Canada? Like there's so many more things that we can be looking at what we're not doing. Why is there no information about any of the kinds of abuse? What's really interesting when you look at the talk from tots to teens, this is the guide for the parents. 0 to 2, they're saying explore their body parts, including genitals, benefit from hugs. 3 to 5, enjoy bathroom humor, like to be naked, choose to close the bathroom door for privacy. Well, that's what they say in Boost, that if you see 2 kids starting to touch each other, go in the other room. That's not what you should be saying. If you saw 2 kids picking their nose, would you say go in the other room? You'd say, no, stop that. So then it goes into masturbation. But what's really interesting, Ben Levin was the Deputy Minister of Education when the new sex ed came in 2015. He helped co-create it. He was charged and convicted of 2 sex crimes. One was child pornography. The second one was counseling others to commit sex abuse on children. Guess who he was talking to? He was talking to undercover officers, but he thought he was talking to the mothers to get ready to rape the daughters, be raped by him. So he goes, masturbate them, show them how to use vibrators, all kinds of things along that line. This is exactly what this curriculum is doing, exactly what he got arrested for. So that's the process that they're using. They're trying to bring the parents' own discernment down and to think this is normal. And then they're going to get hit with all these union employees who say you're hurting your child by not sexualizing them. And then that's going to be the betrayal for the mother or the father. Usually it's the mother who's talking to the children about personal things, just not always, but sometimes. So that's what's going to happen. So they're going to get the mothers to betray their own children. These people are sick, but I think people don't realize the full scope of this. And I know you're talking about Soji a fair bit. Honest to God, David, if we went to the zoo and said, we want to see the transgender giraffe, they'd laugh us out of there. Like, it's just beyond stupid. And over Christmas time, there was a meme on Telegram and it showed Justin Trudeau having his period. like we can just mock this out of time and space.
Well, the memes are really on fire right now. And speaking about Justin Trudeau, for Women's Day last year, he made a public tweet statement saying that trans women are women as well. So this stuff is coming right from the very top. But I wanted to tell you a little bit, these people, they claim that they don't know the difference between men and women, or they say that they do, but basically what they do is they allow people to identify as whatever. And this is all written in the school procedures as well. So a lot of the stuff that you're saying, I've read from the books at school as well. And the problem is these people deem the books appropriate for children, not due to the content that it contains, but due to the language. So if you are able to present in a kid-friendly way, with kid-friendly words, explicit content, then that book, in their eyes, is child-friendly and age-appropriate. So they don't really have a problem with the content. So I believe it was on October 16th, I spoke at the school board, and there was a book that I read from, and it was basically an instruction manual on how to approach minors. And they were changing the language to make it sound more kid-friendly, right? Instead of hand jobs, it was handies. Instead of anal, it was bummies, right? And this is the kind of stuff that they put in, and these are the kinds of discussions that they have with kids, and they have guidelines for teachers, right? Instead of saying a boy or girl, call kids folks. Hey, you folks, they don't talk in a normal talk anymore. And they claim that there's no difference between men and women and that you can be whatever you want. And anybody that makes a claim that literally defies science and biology, something that can be proven easily anywhere you are in the world, anybody can prove it. The fact that they're able to look and make such a claim, you can't trust people like this, because if they're willing to lie about something so fundamental and something so simple, these people cannot be trusted. And a lot of the people too with the unions, when the Million March protest went with, when parents went out on the street, the biggest backlash was from union organized counter protests, and the union leaders and representatives, they literally put out public statements about this, and they put out public registration, and they urged union members to join them in counter protesting. So a lot of these people, they go after the kids, and they defy parents at every opportunity, and yet they want the public trust. These people that claim that they don't know what a man or a woman is, to them it's something that can you go from one to the other uh, because you feel like it. These people, they cannot be trusted with your child's best interest in mind.
Well,
And I believe this behavior that they're exhibiting, the curriculum that they put forward, the things that they teach the kids, the language that they use, this is and I covered the grooming process as well. This is pedophilic behavior, in my opinion.
totally. And I have your grooming, I took your information and included in that and referenced and gave you credit for that. So can we just talk about the unions for a second? So I remember you saying you were in Toronto, but what happened? All the counter protesters for LBGT, they're union reps. They're not gay. They're just union reps. And the one was dumb enough. She actually wore her union logos, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I'm looking at her hat and I'm seeing 353. Where do I know the number? And I go and I look, she's actually wearing her uniform. So these people do know wrong from right. They know what they're doing is wrong. They're just hoping the parents aren't going to be smart enough to figure this all out. And when it comes to a man and a woman, the only reason you have male and female is to procreate. So that's what they're trying to blend in the transhumanism as well. And it's really interesting. Some of the books that I've read, that, like they've been around for 70 years, but they realize that it's the sexual drive, whether you're male or female, is the axis your personality grows around. So they don't want people to have individual personalities. They want you to conform. They want you to be obedient. They want you to be a slave. That's what all that is about. So they don't want you to grow into your personality. And that's why all these curriculum things, all they talk about is sex. That's the only curriculum that they're talking about, but they're not talking about attachment. And that's what the parents get the joy of attaching to the children. But I was going to read something here from Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson said this quote one time: "Raising children is a privilege. What an incredible opportunity for a parent to raise a child according to their values and morals, to help shape them into being the best versions of themselves. It's an honor." And Matt Walsh wrote in his documentary, "What is a Woman?" "Being a dad is one of the greatest privileges of my life." So can I ask you, are you comfortable sharing what it is that you like being about a dad and a parent?
Absolutely. Having kids, probably the single best thing that happened in my life. And there are so many reasons for that. I spend so much time with my girls, and you know, as I see them grow, anything from taking care of them from when they're babies, to teaching them how to ride a bike, to enjoying activities, going outside. It just adds so much dynamic to life as well. And I think people in general, they want relationships, and family, in my mind, is the most important thing. And I understand there's a lot of families out there who aren't as lucky to be in a situation like I am, but I do really want to encourage parents to spend time with your kids as well, because if you're not spending time with them, somebody else will. And if you're not filling their heads with great values, somebody else is going to be eager to put their own ideas into your kid's head. It's really important. And just even as a person, right? You probably know, having kids, having grandkids, it just makes you a better person. It brings out, or it's supposed to bring out, all the great qualities, the nurturing qualities, taking care, providing for them, being there for them, all the support and stuff. And I think this is a great thing. And unfortunately, I see our society, I see Canadian culture, we're very obsessed with anti-family, right? And right from the very top, there are certain things that are promoted. We're talking about the safe drug use that's being pushed, right? Where people can just take drugs, and it's free. Sorry, it's just safe using. I forgot the terminology. Then there's the MAID program.
Injection sites, yes.
Yeah, then there's the MAID program where they're expanding it to mature minors, or they want to expand it,
They
and
already have. They're just
and
saying
then
they haven't.
Yeah, and then with the mental health, then we have abortion as well that's being promoted, and Justin Trudeau said that Canada should be a sanctuary for that. Then we have medical transitioning people, making them lifelong patients on medication and on an identity. This is really sad. This is all anti-family values.
So this is psychopathic, like it is anti-human, even anti-family, of course, I agree with that, but it's also anti-human. It's psychopathic, all the things that you're describing. They can't cure you, but they can kill you. Like it's just crazy, right? This was on the Regional Waterloo website, My Life, My Plan. And one of the points it talks about is, are you having a plan to use drugs or alcohol? And then it goes, the next one is, what's your plan for your sex life and what kind of a sex life are you planning on having? But when you start looking through the links, so I'm going to have a Zoom call, I think, on next Wednesday. But what I want to do is start showing people how to go through these sites and look at the information for people who are interested. I sent you an invite. I just did it a little while ago. But what it does, it takes you to another site that talks about fetal alcohol syndrome. So then they say, if you get pregnant, then you have some choices. Guess what the first choices are? Abortion, then adoption, then raising the child, or having other people help you raise your child. Like these people are sick. It is all the way through this. And I think the reason they're doing it, one, because there's people, big names that are going to be coming out about who's been diddling kids and doing bad things. So I think they're trying to decriminalize it. So when that happens, and if parents are doing it with their kids, then they can't complain about the other ones doing it. So I think there's a lot of reasons why all of the sickness that you just described in our society, it's anti-family, it's anti-human. And back in 1967, there was something called the Toronto Protocols. They knew they were going to start introducing sex, drugs, rock and roll, leisure activities, sports, all that kind of stuff, because they wanted the soul to leave the body. They call it the wandering spirit. So when you know who you are and you're connected to God's spark, and you've got your higher self in here, and you know who you are, and you're observant and you're aware of what's going on, you're a different person than somebody who doesn't have a clue what's going on. They're the ones who are easily controlled. And that's where I think a lot of this is going to end up going, is they want full control. But even when you look at the Waterloo website, it talks about baby's first year parenting, and they're giving you parenting advice and telling you basically what you're supposed to say. And it's absolutely disgusting what they're teaching. But why is there never any punishment for these people for the things that they say? Why is there no punishment for what teachers do or all the white collar workers do? And I was listening to Dr. I think his name is Makis yesterday, and he was talking about in Alberta, because they were trying to take his license away because of he had cancer protocols or something like that. But he was talking about the pedophilia and them being arrested, a doctor being arrested. He said the whole medical system is pedophilic. And the one woman who's part of it, he figures she's part of it, she just got promoted to a university in the education department. So it's the medicine and the education. So these guys are sick, but we got to stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. So I'm thinking this, and I looked at this, this is in the curriculum for Waterloo, Alberta Health Services, teaching sexual health. It's getting the parents to teach it to the children. Like these people are all sick. And what we're finding is a lot of the white collar workers, white collar people, they are the sick ones who are doing it to the kids. And I think we really need to understand that that's why they never get charged. And he said that all these medical professionals, high ups, tried to say this doctor who got caught was a good man, and they all give him character references because they all know. University of
Well,
Waterloo is named in those unions, 4 people from University of Waterloo. There's a lot of sickos up there. Wilfrid Laurier was named in it. Like these people know, right? And I'm not trying to contradict anything you're saying. I think we're both saying the same things. We just are coming at it from a different angle. But I had another teacher come up to me. I had a man come up to me, and I had these things on the table at that open house. And I said, what it is. And he goes, no, there's nothing like that in there. And I said, yes, there is. And I can show it to you and I can articulate. But we need to almost get past the thought that think somebody else is an expert, more of an expert than you. You know what he said to me? My wife's a teacher. I said, I don't care. Doesn't mean I can't study this and research this and understand. And he kept going, there's nothing like that in it. I said, which one do you want me to show you? Do you want me to show you where the curriculum is on the Planned Parenthood site, which is Shore Center? I think they changed the name, they rebranded. Anyways, he's kept arguing with me. And finally, his wife comes up and she goes, there isn't any of that in the curriculum. And we know women are sex offenders. 60% of that union group were females. I looked at them, I said, you guys should read this because we're going to start suing your asses. That's what's going to take. And that's the only thing that got their attention, the thought of being sued. So if there's nowhere in Canada that you can get access information of what abuse is, what does that tell you? They want abuse to happen because those ones they can control easier. So,
Well,
so
yep. So I wanted to say just a couple things. I also have another perspective that I wanted to share, and you mentioned
sure.
the soul connection, with God. What I see is you can even think about it from a spiritual perspective, right? And all of this stuff, I believe, is just a modern form of child sacrifice, right? You're basically sacrificing your kids, right? Just to be atoned for your sins. And what are the sins over here? The Marxist sins, right? Whether it could be like your white supremacy or racism, all the nonsense that the school tries to make people bad, to feel bad about. And if you think what I'm
Yes,
saying is crazy, the school they literally hire on immutable attributes such as the skin color, and they openly, they'll openly believe that people are white supremacists, or anybody that speaks out against them supremacists or phobes and all of this stuff. Anyways, just to bring it back, I believe a lot of the stuff what we're seeing is child sacrifice. I believe this is a cult and a religion at this point, government sanctioned religion. And I think what we are seeing, is the fruits of this belief system. And after your delegation, I looked into this the grooming process and the abuse, and to define it and identify it. So I reached out. So I went to um, the teachers college website as well, because Scott Pietowski said that all the teachers are trained in this. So then
right.
I went to see what are they trained in exactly, and I sent an email, and I have a document here. It's from protectchildren.ca. So I guess they're getting their training from the Canadian Center for Child Protection. And this document can be found online. I'll just show you. It's called, can't really see it well. It's called Child Sexual Abuse. It is your business. And as I went through this document and just seeing what's happening, in my mind, everything that's happening and everything that we are seeing is abusive. What we are
Is totally.
seeing, and according to their own words, right? And I do agree with them, right? And this document, when I read it, I do agree with it. They need to be held accountable, right? Because if they are getting trained according to this document, um, and the kind of behavior, so if they're getting trained in this and yet they're still doing this kind of behavior,
They're
you
guilty
know,
of it by their own
yeah,
admission.
exactly. So I just wanted to go really quick. There's uh, these points over here. What is concerning behavior? So one is advanced sexual knowledge. So the child has sexual knowledge beyond his or her level of development. This may include information about certain smells, sounds, tastes, and or visual details of sexual activity. This is exactly what we see in schools where children as
Exactly.
early as age is 4, they have advanced knowledge, right? This is a symptom of abuse. What's the other thing? Sexualized behavior. The child acts out explicit sexual behavior. The behavior is inconsistent with the behavior of children of the same age. What are we seeing right now in schools? We're seeing the rise of LGBTQ, right? These kids are all minors. How
And
are
they're
these
confused.
minors taking on an identity, a sexual identity, right?
So they're guilty of it, exactly what you said, but now you can hang them with their own information. So I've been dogging these guys for about 11
Mm-hmm.
years. Like I pushed really hard with the politicians. So they've had to come out with something to prove that they're not doing anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the exact proof that if you can ever find a judge who would be willing to charge somebody with these crimes.
Yeah, let
But
me let me keep going. Let me keep
yes,
going. The
please.
other thing is withdrawn and depressed. So the child becomes increasingly withdrawn. They resist playing with their usual friends and withdraws from activities previously enjoyed. Now, this, the director of education actually admitted this, that the LGBTQ community and the groups are at higher risk of depression, anxiety, and suicide. Now, in his mind, under his leadership, mind you, these numbers have went up, right? This is the leadership has
You mean Waterloo
increased.
School Board?
Yeah, the Waterloo
Okay.
School Board, right? So under his leadership, the rates of, according to him, depressed, suicidal kids went up, right? Now, in his mind, this is a feature, not a flaw,
Totally. And
because
he's going to get
now,
bonused.
yeah, because now, if numbers continue to rise, he's going to feel even more important to push what he pushes, right? His ideas. So it's to them, like the fact that this is destructive is actually exactly a
What their
reason to
goal is.
continue. Yeah.
Yes.
So the other thing is decline in school performance, right? The school, so this is pretty self-explanatory, and we see a decline in school performance. Uh, and self-destructive, the child is physically harming herself, sharing feelings, indicator of lack of self-worth. These behaviors, according to their own document that I'm reading right now, are the symptoms of child abuse. And this is exactly what we are seeing that's happening in the school. So when you gave your delegation, when you spoke at the school board, and Scott Piatowski said, "Oh, we train everybody," it seems to me like the training seems okay on the surface. So why are they going against it, and why are they defying reality, and why are they engaging in inappropriate conversations with kids? Why are they presenting explicit books to kids?
Totally. I agree with you
I
100%.
did my first ever delegation. There was a trustee, Carla Johnson, and after my delegation, I think it was the next meeting, her reaction, she says she was disgusted and appalled to the core for my presentation. And I just want to let people know she wasn't disgusted with the material that I read. That material is approved by the school. She was disgusted with the fact that I read that material, right? She was completely okay with having minors read it, but God forbid having an adult read that in a public statement, right? And these are the kind of people that are in positions of leadership who want to gain the parents' trust. And I believe parents are waking up to what's happening. And if you look back over the past few years, I bet, you know, I, I'm talking, we did that school options seminar where people are coming to look, we're coming a long way. People were never as interested, private school were never as full capacity as they are now, right? So we have a great opportunity to participate in our own rescue. And there's a great opportunity for parents to spend more time with their kids. It's more important than ever.
And it's really interesting what some of the people were presenting, saying you only have to be in school for 2 or 3 hours a day. So then that gives the child more time to play, to be doing different things, hobbies, nature, whatever it is, time with the parents. So there's the whole system needs to fall. There's nothing that's going to save this system because there's too much money in it. I would love to get a copy of that. I'm not sure if I have a link to it already or not, but the papers that you're sharing, because that's what you hang them with their own stuff. If they're not going to do anything about it, what can we do other than what you're talking about? Private schools looking at alternative education systems. But sooner or later, people, like, even if they know teachers, I'm not making this as a complaint, but that two people up there spoke and said, not all teachers are bad. If you haven't got the balls to stand up and call this out, you are bad. So we can't, it was almost like it didn't create enough of a need. Well, not all bad. Well, then there's no point in leaving. This is bad. They need to get their children out of this. I know I read this earlier. I don't think I've read this on the air. This is, so when I'm looking at all these people in the union, there's two that run daycare in Kitchener or Waterloo. They're at the same daycare, but they're teaching kids from 0 to 2 to start touching themselves and things along this line. The one woman posted this about a professor from Conestoga College. And what she wrote, it might appear like our crisis is a lack of childcare spaces. The real crisis is the first crisis of childcare. We have a childcare system built on the backs of poorly paid ECEs. You look at any of the dialogue on that Zoom call, all they cared about was getting paid. That was their first priority, was the workers. And then she says National Action Day of Action, November 30th, before system expansion. So they know the system is expanding, expand public investments. Where's the money coming from? Fix the first crisis, pay the workers, then grow the system. This is what a professor is teaching the workers. When we understand just how deep this is, people should be absolutely disgusted with the education system in Canada. Like this, I remember 2013, 2 universities in Frosh Week were pro-rape chanting minors with the new students coming in. Like, this is in the universities. That's what people don't understand. So they train the professionals that the sex is okay. So then they come and they work with the children. But I think these people are sick that they actually like it. That woman,
To
I
be
don't know
honest,
who,
yeah, I 100% believe that. As a matter of fact, I have a recent video. There's a couple librarians, and they talk about these books in the library. These books, by the way, they're handpicked by the librarians as well. And at first they'll have people believe that the government, has a list of approved books, and this is on that list.
yes,
So these books are not on that list. The government books that are mandatory are more educational books, and books fall in one of two categories, either education or entertainment. And the school
okay,
has the ability to have supplementary material. That means they have some sort of flexibility to add books to their library. Now, these books that they're adding to the library, they'd have you believe that they're on that government list, and they're not, right? And when I hear these experts, these are top experts, right? On this video, that they're saying like these books are okay,
there's
and
no such thing as an expert. They have an agenda.
these people are degenerates,
They're
right?
totally,
And what they want to make people believe is that don't trust your own intuition. We have an
exactly,
expert that you can rely on, and they're outsourcing people's
common
thought
sense.
and
Yeah,
common sense to these experts. And I'll tell you, like, if these experts are okay with this kind of stuff, these people need to be fired immediately. There's no tolerance for this behavior. And these people, I'm sure they want a pat on the back for the work that they're doing. And they're talking about the resistance, right? Because parents are speaking up and librarians are hesitant now to add library books, and good for them. And they talk about how some parents, they'll hear about on the US news that about these library books, and they'll come into the library and be like, oh, that book is not there, stop listening to US politics. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter what country exposes these books. If you're a parent and you hear about it, it's your duty to go to the school and ask if that book is in the school. If it's not in the school, then great. If it is in the school, why is it in the school, right? And these experts, this leadership, they're constantly feeling the need to educate people, constantly feeling the need to teach people. And what are they doing by this? Really, what they're doing is they're dismissing the concerns of parents,
totally,
right?
because they're
They're
narcissists and sociopaths.
Yeah, and these people want a pat on the back for this behavior, and they always cry the victim, and they always
Totally.
do things that are so disrespectful, fringy, degenerate, and people have a reaction like, wow, I can't believe you just did that, right? And then, according to that reaction, they take that reaction, they say, see, you're being hateful, right? And what they're
Right.
doing is they're so degenerate that anybody who says that's disgusting, they're labeling us hateful. Honestly, I am hateful of this behavior. This behavior should not be tolerated. I don't think there's anything you can't talk to these people, right? You need to go in there and you need to tell them exactly what to do, right? It doesn't matter what they label you in their mind. You're the parent, you're the one responsible for the kid. And these people are not your friends. These people don't have your best interest in mind.
No,
And these experts, and I do
not
believe you need
experts,
to
they're
be,
pedos.
I do believe you need to be an expert in quotation, by the way, right? That's how I'm using the term.
Yes,
I think you need to be an intellectual. You need to be educated at this point to come up with such stupidity and such justification for this disgusting behavior. You really need to be educated. I don't think a person on the street would say, yeah, this is great. You really need to have high level of education to come up with such uh
perversion.
justifications for this perversion. Yeah,
So what they do, the battle between good and evil, what they want to do is they want to twist everything on you. So a lot of the times they play stupid, but when they say you're hateful and you think, no, I'm not, you don't play the game. This is child sex abuse, period. You keep this up, we're going to do everything we can to have you charged to the fullest extent of the law. So if they sit there and say you're hateful, I'm not talking your crap. This is
exactly.
what this is. So that's why we needed the definitions of all the abuses. I should send you a copy of that because you helped me put the grooming stuff in it. But when you look at the definition, there's no materials in any of the education. I've looked at the trustees' websites. I've looked at the school board's websites and what the responsibilities are. Nowhere does it say it's their responsibility to protect children and keep them from harm. Nowhere in any of these websites. So that tells you right there that it's never been about the teacher or about the child. It's always about the teacher. It's for the principals, vice principals, teachers, school board trustees, all of them. There's nowhere where it says that they are there to keep the children from harm's way. So why is there not an oath that all the teachers have to sign, that they understand what the 5 types of abuse are, including neglect, and commit to not doing them? So I don't see things changing so much in the public school, but that's what has to be shown, that they do not have the child's best interest at heart. And when they sit there and try to flip it on you, you got to know that's just the game of a psychopath. And they look at you like they honestly believe there's something wrong with you. And if you're not used to standing up for yourself, so you talked about confidence and self-esteem, the parents need to have that built into them too. And that's my book. I talk a lot about that in Ending Global Loneliness. I wrote this back in 2017 or 16. But you talk about self-esteem, people can't even articulate what it is. People don't know how to find it. And it's interesting, one exercise I do with my clients, I ask them to name 3 beautiful things about them. Do you know how many people can't? And I said, don't tell me you're a good cook and you're good at cleaning the house. I want to hear something that's spectacular about you, but they're not even looking for what's good for them. So how can you esteem your children if you can't esteem yourself? And it's not that maybe you have low self-esteem, you're just not connected to your self-esteem. But you should know how amazing you are, because these people are going to start seeing parents standing up, other people standing up, and it's going to be an energetic shift. It's going to be a confidence, even collective confidence, that people are going to start having. They need to start having it, but they need to be able to go into these schools and know that they have the right to say, you're not teaching my child this. There is a woman, supposedly, you might know who she is just because she's in this region, and she went to the principal and she went with that Declaration of Family Rights and said, I don't want you teaching my children about Soji. You know what the principal said? What's Soji? As if he wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So they will lie through their teeth. And this is what people haven't realized. That's what they're really good at. When you're talking about the librarians, I went in to rent a room one time, and as I was walking back, I asked to see the room. As I'm walking back, there's a whole stand of books, and it says queer theory. And I look at her and I said, that's Julia. And she said, no, it's not. And I said, that is child abuse. She goes, no. She goes, it's just a spectrum of people. And I said, no, it's not. And I could see she was getting a little flustered. So we went back, looked at the room, and came back. And I said to her again, I said, you're teaching CSA. And I said, that is a criminal offense. And she goes, no, it's not. Like, this is how outrageous you have to get through them. So I looked at her and I said, have you been married? And she said, yes. And I asked her, how big is your husband's when it's hard? And she looked at me. I said, imagine that in a 3-year-old. She looked at me, and then I went back to that library and the book stand was down, but I've gone to another library. So now they don't have a stand with a label on it, but they have it off to the side. So they're sneaky. So they still put it in the library. But it wasn't until I said that to her and then she started getting upset, and I could see her leaning on the counter. And I'm like, you could be charged for that. But there is nobody in Canada, like how many of the police are involved in the philia and the trafficking? When I was helping a mom try to get her daughter back. This was a few years ago, and she gave me a list. She took a list of every person she talked to, every cop. And that's exactly what you said. So she would go in, she filed the original complaint. She goes in, she gets another officer, has to explain it again. They're losing papers. There were 60 officers in 2 regions that she dealt with. So they don't all keep the same information. Where's the file? You think they don't know? They don't know that you don't make the mother or whoever the parent is repeat themselves 60 times because you're just going to wear them down. Do we think they don't know that?
I want to tell you a story.
Sure.
Okay, I want to tell you a story because I went to the Waterloo Regional Police and I brought several papers with me, and I wanted to file a complaint, right? And I gave them the papers. I was chatting with the officer, and the intake officer over there, he didn't even want to take my papers, right? I was just talking to him about it, and he's like, I don't know, we don't really have a case about this, right? I don't know, blah, 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 right? And I said, you didn't even look at my papers, right? You don't even know what I'm complaining about. You didn't even look at the evidence. You don't want to look at it, right? Then and this conversation went on for a while, right? Then he reluctantly took my papers, right? He looked at them and he's like, I don't know, I don't think there's anything we can do about this. And I said, okay, if there's nothing you can do about this, I want you to put my report on file and give it to me in writing that there's nothing you can do. That's all I want, right? And he's like, okay, we'll do that. Fast forward a few weeks, I went back to the police station because I didn't receive that email that he told me that he's going to send me, right? And I said, hey, I came in a few weeks ago and I gave my a report, and I just wanted to follow up on it because I didn't get anything. This was another officer, by the way, another intake officer, and he got my information. He looked at it, he said, there's nothing on your file. And I was like, what do you mean there's nothing on my file? I brought this stuff in. So what they do is when they receive complaints, they just throw them right in the trash. This is how the police behaves, right? And then you go back in, and then they pretend that it's like, yeah, it's all lost, you know. And there's a new police officer, and I wanted to chat with the supervisor, right? And they'll make you wait around, hoping that you're going to
Totally.
get bored and leave. Anyways, I didn't get bored and I didn't leave, right? And the officer, the supervisor, I believe, came out and I had a chat with him as well. You know, he told me there's nothing we can do. You got to add more public pressure, political pressure, et cetera, right? And I said, I need you, I'm not walking out of here without anything. I need you to give me something on what grooming is, on how you identify grooming. And he insisted several times that they have nothing. And I said, look, I'm not leaving until you give me something. And he ended up giving me this thing about online child grooming. And I looked at it and I said, what is happening here online? What I'm reading here is what's happening in real life.
Totally. They just want you
And,
thinking it's online. That's it.
yeah. And he said, no, there's nothing we can do about this. So what am I trying to say with this? You know, this is a personal story that I have with the police taking complaints and then they just throw them in the garbage. So if you talk to the police and you say, is anybody complaining about such and such, right? They could say, like, nobody's complaining. You're the only one complaining. But is that really the case? If the police is gonna trash a complaint and not even look at it, and then when you ask them, you know, maybe you feel like you're the only one complaining, right? But the thing is, the police, and before I went to them, I called the non-emergency number and I called all the extensions because they have different extensions based on what you're trying to talk to them about.
Right.
And nobody answered the phone on any of the extensions. And I believe there was probably 7, 8, or 9 extensions. I called all of them. And then I went to the police station to give my report. Then after I followed up. So basically the police, they don't care, right?
They've all been
And
bought and paid for, and we
I believe they're complicit. I believe, you
totally.
know, they're
And half of
complicit to
them
this.
probably are doing it to the kids. So I was away on a trip in about a year ago, and we came back to the Toronto airport. We were out of the country, and one of the people had lost his phone. So the security went and found his phone, but we were the last ones to come through at like 1 o'clock at night. And the customs people said, you've got an arrest warrant because he had speeding tickets he hadn't paid or something. The customs now keep the person, like he wasn't in jail or anything, but they keep the person there until the region decides if they want to send somebody out. So now the regional police are in cahoots with the customs officials at the airports. Like system is so rigged, but nobody knows exactly how it works. So the region didn't want to come out and get him because it was by then it was like 3 a.m. But like that's how rigged the system is. Do we honestly think that if you filed a complaint that they can't find your phone number and find out where you live? I've got a cop who lives beside me now because he was working in the same region where the mom was trying to get her daughter back and I was helping. Why don't you just bug my house? Like, do we honestly think these people are so above reproach that they're such decent people? And I'm not saying anything about anybody in particular. I'm saying if you wear the uniform, look at all the people who protect the drag queen story hour. What's wrong with you? Right? Look at all the people who they're protecting all this stuff. And
The
you look
Pride
at
Parade, you know, these people
totally
go with their dongs out, and who's there right beside them?
the
The
police
police.
protecting them. So like, why do we even pay for any of these positions? The medical system's trying to kill you. The police won't do anything for you. They only charge you for victimless crimes. They don't charge anybody who's actually hurt anybody, it seems. The education system is sexualizing your kids and they want to get them ready for sex. You know what I mean? Like, who in our society, the pillars of society, are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing? None of them. But we don't look at it. And that's where that one person, the professor, saying that this system's going to expand. When you look at the website in Waterloo, I'm sure you've looked at it under the health and wellness, the topics like baby's first year, they're telling you how to raise your child. So if you don't do it, then what are they going to have? Children's Aid Society come in and take your kid? And you know what's really funny in that union list? There's a Children's Aid Society worker in there too. So they've got it all planned for what they're going to take over and how they're going to push the parents out. Were any of these workers there when you conceived your children? Like, what rights do they think they have? And that's the problem. They think they have it, but it's only because I think they want the money or they actually want the child for whatever
Both.
nefarious reason, right?
Why not both? You know,
Yeah.
this is the thing. I do believe all the institutions at this point, they seem to be corrupted.
Oh,
And the
you know
message
it.
right from the top, right? Right from the top is the same thing. And it doesn't matter what government it is, whether it's liberal, NDP, conservative. We have a conservative Ontario government. All of this stuff in the schools is taking place under their watch.
Oh,
It's not like they
totally.
don't know about this, right? So it doesn't really matter who's in charge. It seems that there's, for a lack of a better word, a uniparty, right? And they all say whatever they want to say, but nobody actually does anything. And this is concerning to me because nobody's wants to hold anybody accountable. And it seems to me like,
Because they all get paid.
yeah,
This is going to get worse than you think. I wasn't really going to go into this today. And I was talking to you about this map that I went in and looked where the 15-minute cities are. All of them are west of Toronto. So they have a few of them around Ottawa and Kingston. That's just to put protection, I think, on Trudeau. But so we are getting locked down where all the money is in Western Ontario, where the rest of the province is not. But this is where I think they're planning on taking us over. And that's where all these unions are going to be stepping in, because the union, you talked about that one protest rally down in Toronto. I went and looked up all the unions. The unions were the numbers that were mentioned on the list of that Zoom call. So then in Guelph, there's a lot of unions as well. So you realize Guelph is agriculture. That's what they're going to take over. They want to reduce waste and food. And so I'm doing my videos on 15-minute cities, and I get this email from this woman who says, you don't know what you're talking about, Sandy. That's not happening in Guelph. And you need to reference all and index all your information. So this email from some, who does this person think they are telling me this? I don't know why I didn't do it, but a couple of days later, I thought I'm going to check this chick out. So I go and punch her name into the internet. Guess what? She works at the University of Guelph. So they all know that we're standing up. They know who's protesting. They know who's doing exactly what.
we know
But
as
this,
well who's doing it from their side as well.
you know what? I mean, you look at the University of Waterloo. Do you know who Field McConnell is?
No.
Phil McConnell was an airman in the United States, and he did a lot of work trying to expose pedals in high places. He went by the name Abel Danger. Now they destroyed him. I think they killed his wife. But he said one point, I'll send you the video. He said at one point that David Johnson got snuff films from Colonel Russell Williams. Somebody got him to Stephen Harper. He got him to Prince Andrew. And he was the dean at the University of Waterloo for the longest time. So like this thing is so rigged. So anybody who knows him is going to defend him, right? Whether they're going to give him a, what do you call it, a character reference or whatever. This thing is so rigged. So I'm watching. So somebody else sent me an email or something about Six Nations, and I'm thinking, why Six Nations? So I have a map that shows the treaty lands. This should be another video for you and I. It shows all the treaty lands in Ontario. And the core right around Six Nations, that's where it's supposed to be 6 miles of either side of the Grand River. That was supposed to go to all these tribes. That's why they're doing the land acknowledgements, because what they've done something with the treaties. Now they're coming back and doing the land acknowledgement, which gives them the right as if they own the land. But this is what they're going to use, I think, to grab the kids. I haven't quite figured all this out yet. But what happened was it used to say Haldeman Proclamation on the sign on that tract of land. Now it says Global Initiative. And then if you go on their website, it leads you right back to the University of Waterloo. So University of Waterloo sold us out to the New World Order.
Well, to be honest, I don't personally know too much about this stuff because I feel like I focus so much on the gender ideology.
Right.
But what I can tell you is this. A lot of the academics and a lot of these ideas and this ideology does come from up top. And
Yes.
from what I could see, just as a normal person, you know, is a lot of these people apparently think that this kind of behavior is okay. You know, that's what I see,
The
right?
academics, they've got no soul. And I'm not saying, I'm not lumping them all in there, but you have to have a soul connection, and it's an entitlement.
I think, you know, there's a lot of things that are wrong with these people. No, lack of morality, lack of integrity,
Yeah.
thinking they're above everybody else because they have an education, right? And it's it's concerning, and they'll even cite like, oh, I have so many years of this and that. And to me, when I see that, is like, so what if you have so many years? You've been doing the wrong thing, and now you're an
Programming,
expert in doing the wrong thing. That's all
totally.
you become. You're an expert in degenerate behavior, right? And all I can say, so I don't know too much about the 15 minutes it is because I just don't have time to get involved in
And
that.
somebody else can get
Yeah.
you up to speed on that too, right?
But all I could say is a lot of these academics seem to be pushing this ideology onto children.
Wonder how many of them are Satanists.
Pardon me?
Right? Because there was somebody was a Satanist on that Zoom call as well. So that's what all these agendas are, right? What you can do to hurt somebody else or cause stress or pain to somebody else. Like that's how they get their emotional fix.
Yeah,
So what they,
like you pointed out, I think a lot of this stuff is pathological,
oh, totally
psychopath.
psychopathic. Totally,
And I think a psychopath, it's the inverse, right? You're
totally.
talking, and whatever's bad is good for them, right? Like I said, it's a feature, not a flaw, to have the stress because suddenly now you can justify the importance of your work, right? The
Yes.
more people that are in the stress, the more important your work is. Now
And
you're
they get off on it. That's the problem. So they get their emotional fix by causing discomfort, pain, and suffering to another person. That's what all the tortures are and things like that. They get off on it. And that's what we don't see. I think these people are the ones who should be on the spectrum. Like how far will you go? A psychopath, sociopath, narcissist, shame-based person, enabler, bystander, and then a healthy person. Like where are you on that scale? How far will you go to cause somebody else distress so that you get ahead? And what the funny part is, if they all band together and pick on one person, they all convince themselves they're right now,
I
right? Like it's just
encourage, yeah,
really
I
messed
encourage
up.
all the viewers and the listeners. There's a really good book about socialism. It's called The Gulag Archipelago, and it talks about socialist Russia and the extent that they went and how they perfected arrests and torture and labor camps and all of these things. They pick people off the street, the manipulation, the control. If you think that this stuff can't come to Canada, if
It's
you
already
think we're
here.
beyond, yeah, um, there's no depth of darkness to which humanity cannot sink to. And I really encourage people to read that book. As a matter of fact, there's a little passage in that book. It's kind of a famous event where everybody is in this big room. I think it was like a Congress room, and Stalin's giving his speech, and everybody starts applauding, and everybody keeps going and going and going, right? The people at the front have to applaud harder and with fervor, while the people at the back can take it a little easier. And nobody wants to be the first person to stop applauding because everybody wants to show how dedicated they are, right? And the applause go on for 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. People's palms are beginning to ache and it's torture now, and nobody can stop. Nobody wants to be the first person to stop applauding. The applauding goes on, and I think around 10 or 11 minutes or so, suddenly one guy at the front, he's like a high level guy, he decides to stop first and sit down and saves everybody else, and everybody else stops and sits down, right? After that, that guy disappeared. He was removed and he disappeared from that. But this is the kind of ideology, you know, uh, people will go to extreme uh, levels and extreme distances for ideology, right? Because you just lose morality, you lose your critical thinking, right? And suddenly it's just about applauding and holding the party line at all costs, right? And the higher up you are, the more you're held accountable for the party. And as you know, these people, these Marxists, these socialists, all these things that have people captured, when you're near the very top, they're ruthless, right? Like they
Yes.
they they arrange protests, they have people inside, they have seminars, it's like a brainwashing session, right? They have all these things. These people are ruthless. So you can imagine if somebody who has a position high up top, if they don't toe the party line, right? All that stuff is going to come against them, right? They're going to lose their job. And the one thing, right, during the Nuremberg trial, after communism, socialism, the wars, you know, what did people say? People said we were only doing our job.
Yeah.
This is exactly what's happening now.
Right now.
That's and that's not an excuse to behave this way. You
No.
know, doing your job is not an excuse to behave this way. Anyway, Sandy, I
So we're
just
gonna
wanted
see where
to,
that goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, my camera is running out of battery, but I
Okay.
just wanted to give that little bit of an insight, and I just wanted people to read The Gulag Archipelago. There's an abridged version. It's written by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. This book was a crucial moment and a crucial step in bringing down socialism by exposing the horrors of the labor camps and the way that it was all constructed. And it talks about people's experiences and how torture worked and how imprisonment worked. And
And that's what they're trying
no
here.
country, yeah, and no country is above it. And you know, it all comes like we see free speech and censorship and all that stuff. You know, there's a big battle. Anyways, uh,
For sure. So David, I'm going to include your information for the viewers in the description box. So if you want anything different from the last time, just send it to me today and I'll include that. And thank you very much. And we hope we're not too heavy on people today. The idea is we have to understand what the issues are so we can make the changes and definitely build up your confidence and have faith in yourself and understand just how valuable you are as the parent of these boys and girls. It's really important that we all understand that. And it doesn't matter where you are in the community. I don't believe it takes a community to raise a child, but we all have a responsibility to keep them safe in whatever capacity. So
that's right.
I'll also include my stuff. Anything you wanted to say, David, as final remarks, or is that good?
Yeah, Sandy, thank you so much for having me. And I just want to encourage everybody, if there's one thing to take away, is spend time with your kids, right? Get them off
Definitely.
the screens, spend time with them. And, you know, if your kids are able to communicate with you, you can be the one to instill the ideas. And I'm so happy. I know your audience has a lot of great parents who already know this. And we got to spread the word, right? Because our content, your content, my content, it's heavily censored, right?
Totally.
And, but you know, if one person sees it, they'll talk with a couple other people a little bit more, and it spreads pretty quick. And I just wanted to thank you, Sandy, and all your viewers as well.
You're very welcome. And I also want to say for anybody who works in the system, if you want some of the information we have, we don't mind helping you as well, but there has to be a bigger movement of teachers who say, I don't want to be teaching this anymore. We will give you the literature. You've got it, some of it you've got there, so we can help you as well. So it's not that you're out there on an island by yourself. So thank you, everybody. Take care.